If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
And in fact, the book is dedicated to all of them. My father was in real estate.
So what did your father was how old in 1953? Add that up for me.
In 1953,
right.
He was 30 years old.
So he was 30 when this thing called football came. Your dad probably had seen the Army Navy or Navy Notre Dame or Maryland played Notre Dame in those days and all that stuff, right?
My parents grew up in the Bronx, in the shadows of Yankee Stadium.
So they were baseball people.
My father and my uncle used to go over to Yankee Stadium and wait to get autographs of Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio and all those guys.
Now, the New York Football Giants played there probably in the 40s, correct?
In the 50s, too.
In the 50s.
They played at Yankee Stadium.
But I'm trying to get to the heart of your dad's passion for sports that became your passion. My dad grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, boxing, basketball, and taking the train into New York City to see Ruth and Gehrig. Mm-hmm. And DiMaggio after that. But my dad grew up in a town where they got the New York papers and radio. My dad was the first one to get the Dempsey fight on the radio and all that. But his passion for sports was born out of boxing and born out of baseball, much like because they read New York papers and that was the New York thing to do, more than horse racing, which my dad never got into.
Well, really, until the 58 game, the big sports in America were baseball, boxing, and horse racing. College football was bigger than pro football.
Sure.
So, but my father grew up in the shadows of Yankee Stadium.
Well, that was all like Newt Rockne, Notre Dame, and all that stuff, right?
When we moved to Baltimore.
What year?
In 49. I was
Okay.
4 years old. And when the Orioles and Colts arrived, I can still remember going with him to see my first Orioles game. And Whitey Ford pitched for the Yankees, pitched a 3-hitter against the Orioles. And Mickey Mantle hit a moonshot that I thought landed on Greenmount Avenue. And that stays with you, all these years later. It's not just about baseball or football. It's going to the game with your dad.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So your dad's love of it for you, what was your first experiences with the Colts and realizing that maybe, for me, it was like kids at school. I mean, all the kids at school liked the Orioles. I'm from Dundalk,
It was playing ball on the playground. And, watching them on Sundays and then being out on the playground with all these kids, you go long, you go short. I'll fake it to you, and you were pretending that you were John Unitas. That's what we all did. It was Unitas throwing to Barry.
Now, were you a frequent goer to the games? Were you season tickets and all that stuff?
We would go to maybe one game a year until my father got season tickets around 63, and then... So
the glory days were experienced on television for you, or radio?
Television and radio, but... also the life of the imagination. I didn't go. I'll tell you. Can I tell you a story here?
Absolutely. I love to tell me a story.
I didn't go to the 58 championship game. My father had 2 tickets. I was supposed to go, 13 years old, and about half a dozen guys from...
And again, your dad was a New Yorker, so it was home for him, right?
But here we are. We're Baltimore. We're big Baltimore people by this time, and we're rooting seriously for the Colts. My father gets 2 tickets. This is unbelievable. 2 or 3 weeks before the game, me and about 4 or 5 of my buddies, we go up to the Hilltop bowling lanes, right around the corner from the Hilltop Diner that Barry Levinson made famous in the movies, to bowl a game of duck pins. And one of the guys gets an idea, let's sneak out of here without paying. We'll go around to the diner, we'll have French fries and gravy, we'll save 30 cents. And we all snuck out, except one guy, Jakey Rubenstein. He got caught, and he ratted on all of us. And my father sat me down and he said, your punishment is you're not going to the game. He said, I want this to be a lesson to you. I said, it is a lesson. He said, what's the lesson? I said, never go bowling with Jakey Rubenstein. But that was my punishment. I didn't get to go to the game. I watched it on TV with those friends. We sat in my parents' living room and watched it on black and white TV.
Did your dad ever pull you up later on and say, I should have picked a different punishment for you on that one, or no?
Nope. He wanted it to be, this would linger with
me. That is penal there. That is real punishment.
Honesty. That was the lesson. That was right.
What a lesson. All right, Michael Olesker.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.